Hey, welcome back. It's Monday. This is the week. Feels like summer's about half over, but Friday will be July 4th. And when you have something like that, a lot of times the courts will schedule around it, even if it's one day at the beginning or the middle or the end of the week. So we've just got motions this week where defense attorneys have filed like to get a lower bond or to get some sort of bond or to get evidence excluded, that sort of stuff. We're going to hear motions this week in Horry. There's going to be motions going on in Georgetown, but there won't be any trials this week. So, and we've been so busy in court with quite a few trials that I haven't even got to tell you about the, I attended this execution for Stephen Stanko. Now to back up just a little bit, Stephen Stanko had, he was on parole. He had moved back. He had pulled like 8.5 years on a 10-year sentence. And he had moved back to Georgetown and was renting a room. He was writing a book. He was incredibly intelligent. And he was writing a book, and he met the librarian, Laura Lean, and started dating her. At some point, very early in that, he ends up killing Laura Lean, choking her to death. He then rapes her daughter, cuts her throat and leaves her for dead. Then he steals her vehicle, drives from Georgetown to Conway, and he kills Mr. Henry Turner. And Mr. Henry Turner lived right across from over there where Coastal's football stadium is. So Greg, my predecessor, Greg Hembry and Fran Humphreys went down and tried him for the death penalty in Georgetown. And this is the real odd part. It's the first death penalty I'd ever worked on. But Greg allowed me to work with him and Fran on the Horry County case with Mr. Henry Turner. But Stephen Stanko is the only person that I know of that has ever gotten 2 death penalties. So the reason that they would do that, you'd say, well, why would you waste that kind of money? The Supreme Court overturns about 3/4 of all of the death penalty cases. Death is different, and they'll tell you that over. So even a sneeze or a stumble in any way, and no trials are ever perfect, but they really focus in and make you retry and retry. And we've tried several of them twice, death penalties, but the trial in Georgetown had to be retried. It was overturned, and they had to go. When they overturn it, it doesn't mean that the case is thrown out, but it means all the work that you've done is thrown out. You've got to start over, get another jury, and there's a lot to talk about here, so I'm jumping around. But what we were prepared for in the Horry County case with Mr. Henry Turner was, and I've prepared every case since then, every death penalty since then, you'll watch the defense attorney try to leave little hidden bombs all the way across. So it's not just us making mistakes or imperfections. They are doing it, I believe, purposefully to leave that out there so that you have to retry the case and retry the case and retry the case. So you've got, like in tennis, it's not enough for you to take care of your side of the court. You've got to take care of your side and their side. And you've got to make sure that the defendant gets a fair trial, even if the defense attorney is trying to keep him from getting a fair trial. And that comes up every time now, and once you know to look for it, you know, it takes on, it really messes with your mind, but you are pushing, but then you're pulling back and making sure that you're not pushing too far, and you're watching the defense attorney more than you're watching the defendant a lot of times. So anyway, the Horry County case only had to be tried once, and that actually made its way to the death chamber before the Georgetown case. And they've got super strict rules. But they did allow Laura Ling's daughter, and I'm not going to, I think her name's out there, but I don't want to put it out. But they allowed her to attend. They allowed Rodney and Roger Turner to attend. And so it was me. When the death penalty took place, you had to let them know about a month in advance that you were going. And so I drove to Columbia. Rodney and Roger drove to Columbia, and we were met at the gates of the prison and escorted in with our vehicle. Once we parked our vehicle, we were each assigned a different guide, which was a warden at a prison. And when we drove about 2 miles into this prison, it would shock you how big these places are. We ride and ride and ride, and everything's covered in razor wire. You ride to the back of this prison, and I was in with a warden in one building. The Turners were in another room with another warden. The young girl was in another room with another warden. And it's very sterile. You can't communicate even with the co-defendants, even with the victims or the defendant's family. There's no communication going on, and they'll break that up. So after you sit in this room for about an hour, you're taken into another room and you're searched again. Then you're taken to another part of the prison and you're seated in a particular order. So Stephen Stanko's brother and Stephen Stanko's attorney sat to my right. I sat in the middle, and Roger and Rodney and the young girl, I know her name, but I'm not going to give it. They sat all on the front row. The second row was news reporters from around the state, and they had to go through a lottery to get, they don't just let anybody cover it. They get a sampling. You have to win a lottery, and then those people sit there. And then on the third row is the wardens, so it's security. And I was as close as from me to the camera from Mr. Stanko. He was in a room directly across from me with a piece of glass about this far, enough for you to cross your legs in front. The glass is here and he's right on the other side. He's on a gurney, and he is strapped to the gurney like this, and he's got straps across the wrist, straps across the elbow, and straps across the shoulders, and then a strap that holds him down the middle so he can't really sit up. And he's covered up to about here with a blanket. The defense attorney got up and read a statement by Stanko. It was kind of apologizing for what he had done, but basically saying this was the worst day of my life and I shouldn't have to suffer for, the worst day of my life. But if it brings everybody peace, then so be it. I'm okay with that. She reads it, comes and sits back down. Just a few minutes later, someone inside the room tells the lady to start, she's in a different room, but to start the medicine. And you can see the medicine come through the wall and into the needle. And I would say after that medicine reached his arm, it may have been 10 seconds and he was asleep. Maybe a little, it certainly wasn't 30 seconds. He was asleep. He snored 3 or 4 times. And then, I'm not saying he was dead at that point, but at the end of the maybe 4 snores, I didn't see him move anymore. So they kept him on there and kept all these monitors. It was covered up, but he had monitors all over him. And then about 20 minutes in, they gave him another dose of medicine, waited about 15 more minutes, and they pronounced him dead at 6:34. I'm telling you, he was dead by, if they started it at 6, he wasn't moving no more at 6:01. I mean, it was as peaceful as anything. So this stuff that they're telling you, I don't know. That was the first one I'd ever been to, but there was no suffering or any of that stuff going on. It was about as humane as going to sleep. But that took place, and we just hadn't had time to talk about it. There was a lot more, but the main takeaways is it was really by the book, very sterile. There wasn't no talking to each other or sitting in a lot of waiting, but you were just in there with one guide. And then when it started, it was off and running and over with in just a few minutes. They escort you back out to your car in separate cars, and then they do a news conference, and I headed back to Conway. So we've got a few more up there. Lozinski Cottrell, I know. Sun House murders, that should be coming up at some point. But Horry County's got their share of people sitting on death row, and we'll be seeing a few more of those. We will get notice about that all of the appeals and stuff are over. It's not just state, it's federal. But once those are over, you'll get a notice, and within a month, you're sitting in a cell about 4 or 5 foot from the decedent. So that is the end of the story for Mr. Stephen Stanko, and that was after about 20 years. Stayed on death row far too long. In that time, there was a big period of that time that we didn't have the medicine to perform it. So they're really going out. I think they've done 6 executions in the last 9 months. So they're really going through a backlog there. But come back with us next Monday. Have a safe 4th of July weekend, and we'll talk about another topic next Monday. If you have anything, hit it up in the comments, and we'll try to cover it.